What if I told you your exhaustion isn't from doing too much, but from giving too much of yourself to what doesn't matter? Let that sink in for a moment. You're not broken. You're just leaking energy into distractions, into people who don't value your time, into scrolling, explaining, pleasing, reacting. And all of it is draining the man you were meant to become. But what if you could change that, starting today? Not with hype, not with hustle, but with clarity, stillness, precision. That's the way of the Stoic. You see, modern life teaches us to move fast, talk loud, and say yes to everything. But the Stoics, they taught the opposite: to speak less, to act deliberately, to protect your mind like a warrior guards his shield. Because real strength isn't loud, it's disciplined. It's choosing peace over proving, boundaries over burnout, depth over noise. And if you're here watching this video, then something inside you is already waking up. A quiet whisper that says, I want more. I want to reclaim my energy. I want to live with strength on the inside, not just a strong image outside. This video is not motivation. It's not self-help fluff. This is a manual for energetic self-mastery rooted in timeless Stoic truth. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through 10 powerful battle-tested principles, each one designed to help you cut what drains you and reclaim what drives you. So if you're tired of feeling pulled in every direction, if you're ready to own your energy like a modern-day Marcus Aurelius, then stay with me, all the way to the end. Because this might just be the turning point you didn't know you were waiting for. Let's begin. Part 1. Guard your mornings like a ritual. Let me ask you something simple but important. How do you begin your day? Do you open your eyes and immediately reach for your phone? Scroll, compare, check emails, dive headfirst into the world's noise before your feet even touch the ground? If so, you're not alone. But here's the hard truth. That first hour after waking up, it sets the tone for everything else. And most people hand it away like it's nothing. But to the Stoics, that first hour was sacred. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." Now pause there. Let that sink in. He was a ruler with the weight of the empire on his shoulders. And still, he took time each morning to remind himself what truly matters. So what about you? Before the world gets its hands on your attention, before the emails, the headlines, the schedules, can you give yourself just a few quiet moments of clarity? Because mornings aren't just about productivity. They're about sovereignty, ownership, intentionality. And here's something I've learned over the years. The man who owns his morning owns his day. And the man who owns his day piece by piece eventually owns his life. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You don't need 2 hours of yoga and green juice and journaling by candlelight. You just need to begin with intention. Even 10 minutes of quiet breathing, a simple reflection on what matters today, or asking yourself, what kind of man do I want to be by the time this day ends? That question alone can shift your entire rhythm. Because when you start with silence, you become more stable. When you start with stillness, you become more selective. And when you start with purpose, you stop chasing urgency. Don't give your power away before you've even stood up. So tomorrow morning, before you touch a screen, touch your breath. Before you check the world, check in with yourself. Before you consume noise, create calm. Make your mornings a ritual. Make them yours again. And just watch how the rest of your life follows that quiet, steady lead. Part 2. Cut energy vampires without guilt. Let me say something that might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's one of the most liberating truths you'll ever hear. You can't master your energy if you keep giving it away to the wrong people. It doesn't matter how disciplined you are, how many morning routines you follow, how many self-help books you read. If you're constantly surrounded by people who drain you, distract you, or emotionally hijack your peace, you're not building strength, you're bleeding out slowly. And here's what most people don't realize. Energy vampires aren't always obvious. They're not just loud, toxic people screaming negativity. Sometimes, they come in quiet forms. The friend who always plays the victim. The co-worker who guilt trips you for setting boundaries. The relative who shows up only to take, never to give. And because we've been taught to be nice, we tolerate it. We keep saying yes when we mean no, so no. We stay in conversations that exhaust us. We respond to texts out of guilt instead of desire. But let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you felt emotionally safe, fully around them? When was the last time you left an interaction feeling lighter instead of heavier? If the answer is I don't remember, then it's time for some deep, stoic honesty. The truth is, you owe no one access to your peace, not because you're cruel, but because peace is the foundation of clarity. And clarity is the compass of a well-lived life. Marcus Aurelius, who ruled over an empire while facing plagues, wars, and betrayal, still made time every day to guard his mental space. He didn't waste time on petty drama. He didn't chase everyone's approval. He reminded himself, and now us, that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Cutting someone off doesn't mean hate. It doesn't mean vengeance. It simply means this: I value my energy too much to keep spending it on chaos. And yes, you may feel guilty at first. That's okay. That's just a sign you were trained to abandon yourself. But guilt is not a reason to stay in what's slowly killing your spirit. Let me give you a visual. Imagine your energy as a bank account. Every conversation, every message, every favor, you're either making a deposit or a withdrawal. Now ask, are they depositing peace or withdrawing it endlessly? You deserve relationships that nourish, not drain. You deserve to be surrounded by people who challenge you to grow, not guilt you into shrinking. So don't apologize for creating space. Don't explain why you didn't reply. Don't feel bad for protecting your quiet. Because a Stoic doesn't need the crowd's approval. He walks his own path in calm clarity. And remember this: boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. Distance is not disrespect. It's protection. Let them wonder why you're unavailable. Let your absence speak louder than any explanation ever could. You're not being cold. You're becoming clear. You're not shutting them out. You're finally letting yourself in. And that, my friend, is where true power begins. Part 3. Say no without apology. Let me ask you something that might hit close to home. How many times have you said yes, when every part of you wanted to say no? You agreed to plans that drained you. You helped out of guilt, not joy. You stayed longer, listened harder, tolerated more, just to avoid disappointing someone else. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. We're raised to believe that no is rude, that setting boundaries is selfish, that keeping the peace means always being available, agreeable, and accommodating. But here's what the Stoics knew, and what I've learned through years of watching people burn themselves out, trying to please everyone. Every yes you give that violates your values, steals energy from your purpose. You see, no isn't rejection. It's direction. It's how you carve out the space to grow. It's how you defend your time, your peace, your focus. It's how you build a life that aligns with who you truly are. Saying no doesn't make you cruel. It makes you clear. Seneca once said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Well, if you don't know your values, your time will belong to whoever asks for it. And here's the truth. No one tells you. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your peace. Not family, not friends, not co-workers, not even the version of yourself that used to say yes out of fear. No is a complete sentence. No excuses, no guilt, no softening. Just quiet strength. You don't need to explain your healing. You don't need to justify your rest. You don't need to over-explain your silence. People who respect you won't need reasons. People who don't won't accept them anyway. So protect your boundaries like you'd protect your home. Because once your energy leaks, your purpose crumbles. Say no when you mean it. Say it with grace, but say it with firmness. And then, stay still. Let the silence speak for you. Because when you stop justifying your boundaries, you start reclaiming your life. And that, my friend, is where real freedom begins. Part 4. Embrace solitude as strength. Let me tell you something that goes against everything this noisy world teaches. Being alone is not a weakness. It's a weapon. Most people today are terrified of silence. They can't sit still for 5 minutes without reaching for a screen. They drown in podcasts, notifications, gossip, noise, just to avoid hearing the one voice they can't escape their own. But a Stoic man, he walks a different path. He understands that solitude isn't loneliness. It's clarity. It's where the fog lifts and the truth steps forward. Marcus Aurelius led armies, governed an empire, and still made time every single morning to sit with his thoughts in quiet. He didn't fear solitude. He honored it, because he knew, if you can't be alone with yourself, you'll never truly know who you are. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you sat in a room with no distractions, no music, no scrolling, no conversation, and simply faced your own mind? It's uncomfortable at first. All the unprocessed thoughts start bubbling up. Regrets, fears, dreams you buried. It can feel like too much. But that's where the work begins. That's where growth begins. You see, in solitude, the ego quiets down. You're no longer performing for anyone. You're no longer measuring yourself by outside approval. You become your own mirror and your own compass. That's not weakness. That's power. In solitude, you sharpen your values. You realign with your purpose. You notice the small shifts inside you that get drowned out in the noise of the world. Seneca once said, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good." He wasn't speaking in riddles. He was telling you this. Everything you're looking for, clarity, direction, peace, it begins by turning inward. Solitude is not isolation. It's preparation. It's the gym of the mind, the temple of the soul. So don't run from being alone. Lean into it. Make time for it daily. Even just 10 minutes. Sit quietly. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding by staying busy? You might be surprised by the answer. Because once you make peace with solitude, the world can no longer control you. You don't chase attention. You don't crave distraction. You move from a place of quiet strength. And that, my friend, is the mark of a truly unshakable man. Part 5: control what you feed your mind. Let me ask you something honest. Would you ever knowingly eat food that was slowly poisoning your body? Of course not. So why do we consume mental poison every single day? The truth is, most people today aren't tired because of hard work. They're tired because their mind is exhausted from junk input. Scrolling for hours, arguing with strangers online, watching other people's lives instead of building their own. And here's the thing, your mind is always listening. Even when you think you're just passing time, you're shaping your inner world with every word, every image, every sound you let in. Marcus Aurelius said, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." That's not a metaphor, that's a warning. Your thoughts don't come out of nowhere. They come from what you expose yourself to. So if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, fear, outrage, distraction, don't be surprised when peace feels out of reach. Let me share something from my own experience. There was a season in my life when I noticed I was more anxious than usual. Nothing dramatic had changed. But every morning I'd check my phone first thing. News, emails, endless content. And within 15 minutes, I already felt overwhelmed. So I made one small shift. I stopped feeding my mind noise first thing in the morning. Instead, I sat in silence, read one paragraph of philosophy, took a few deep breaths, wrote down a single thought worth holding on to. And the difference, night and day. It wasn't about cutting off the world. It was about curating what gets access to my inner space. Just like you wouldn't let just anyone walk into your home and start shouting. You don't have to let every voice into your mind. So here's my challenge for you. Take inventory. What are you reading? What are you watching? Who are you following? Do these things make you stronger? Or scatter your focus, replace gossip with reflection, replace outrage with understanding, replace constant noise with meaningful silence? It doesn't mean you live in a cave. It means you choose your input with care. Because what goes in comes out in your mood, your choices, your life. Feed your mind like a wise guardian. Give it fuel, not clutter. Wisdom, not noise. Stillness, not chaos. Because once your input changes, everything else begins to align. Part 6. Pause before you react. Let me tell you something most people never learn. The most powerful moment in any situation is the moment you don't react. That split-second pause, that breath before the storm, that stillness between what happens and what you decide to do next. That's where your real strength lives. Now we live in a world that rewards speed, quick opinions, quick judgments, quick replies. But a Stoic man knows the faster you react, the less control you actually have. Think about the last time someone disrespected you. Maybe they said something insulting. Maybe they cut you off in traffic or ignored your message. What did you do? Did you lash out? Did you let it ruin your mood? Did you carry that moment with you for hours or even days? If you did, don't blame yourself. We've all been there. But here's the truth. That reaction cost you energy. It handed over your peace to someone else's behavior. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal criticism, even war. But he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." See, the Stoics weren't emotionless. They simply refused to let emotions drive the wheel. They practiced the pause. That moment before you say something you'll regret, before you hit send, before you raise your voice or lower your standards. That's the moment to breathe, to observe, to choose. And that moment, it changes everything. Let me give you a practice. Next time something frustrates you, anything big or small, pause for 5 seconds. Just 5. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter next week? Does this require a response or just my silence? You'll be amazed at how many fires never have to be put out if you never strike the match. The man who can pause under pressure is the man who cannot be manipulated. He's not pushed by moods. He's not baited by chaos. He stays rooted while the world spins around him. So remember, you don't have to react to every emotion that rises. You can let them pass like waves. And when you're ready, you respond not from impulse, but from intention. That's not weakness. That's Stoic strength in its purest form. Part 7. Be ruthless with your priorities. Let's clear something up. Just because your schedule is full doesn't mean your life is meaningful. You know this already. We've all had days packed with meetings, errands, replies, and distractions. Yet we go to bed feeling like we didn't actually do anything that mattered. That's the difference between busyness and purpose. One burns energy, the other builds a life. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, if you don't have a consistent goal in life, you can't live it in a consistent way. That's why I say this. You must become absolutely ruthless with your priorities. Not aggressive, not angry, but clear, sharp, unapologetic. Because here's the hard truth. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying no to something sacred. That workout you skipped because someone wanted a favor. That book you didn't read because you were scrolling. That quiet evening you gave away for one more draining conversation. All those small yeses, they chip away at the man you're trying to become. Now, I'm not asking you to be selfish. I'm asking you to be aligned. When you look at your calendar, do you see your values reflected back? Or do you see chaos, people-pleasing distractions, obligations you never meant to accept? Your calendar is your character. It reveals who you really are. Not who you say you want to be, but what you're actually choosing. So here's what I recommend. Every evening, take 3 minutes to write down the top 3 things that truly matter tomorrow. Just 3. Things that move the needle. Things that reflect the man you respect. Maybe it's a hard conversation. Maybe it's prayer or exercise or working on that project you keep delaying. Then the next day, guard those 3 like they're sacred. Because they are. You'll start noticing something. When you choose fewer things with more intention, you actually gain more energy, more clarity, more peace. You stop rushing through life like a man late for his own future. You start living like someone who knows where he's going. So I ask you, what are you chasing? And are your daily actions getting you closer? Because if they're not, it's time to be ruthless. Not with anger, but with purpose. Part 8. Train in discomfort daily. Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you chose discomfort on purpose? Not because you had to. Not because life forced your hand, but because you wanted to grow stronger. You see, modern comfort is a trap. It lulls you into softness. Soft habits, soft thinking, soft living. And when real life hits you panic, you crumble. You reach for the easiest escape. But the Stoics, they understood something far more powerful. They didn't wait for hardship to shape them. They welcomed discomfort. They trained for difficulty like a warrior trains for war. Seneca would sleep on the floor to remind himself that he didn't need luxury. Epictetus, born into slavery, reminded his students to detach from comfort before it detached them from strength. And Marcus Aurelius, he faced betrayal, war, and plague, and still rose early to write to himself, "You could be good today, but instead you choose tomorrow." What does that mean for you? It means if you want to build inner power, you must practice being uncomfortable on purpose. Start simple. Wake up before the sun. Take a cold shower. Skip a meal and sit with hunger. Speak a truth you've been avoiding. Choose to do the hard thing, even when no one's watching. Because every time you do that, you build something the world can't take from you. Resilience. You begin to see discomfort not as punishment, but as preparation. And when real challenges come, and they will, you won't panic. You won't collapse. You'll meet them calmly like an old friend you've seen before. So let me say it clearly. Comfort is not your reward. It's your weakness if you chase it too often. And discomfort. It's not your enemy. It's your training ground. Every day find one small way to train in discomfort. Not to prove anything to the world, but to prove to yourself that you're built for more than ease. That's the Stoic path. Discipline over dopamine. Training over talk. Strength over softness. And you don't need a battlefield to become a warrior. Just one quiet moment where you choose discomfort and grow because of it. Part 9. Stop explaining yourself. Let me be real with you. There comes a point in a man's life when he realizes he's been giving too many explanations, too many justifications, too many words trying to make others understand his silence, his peace, his decisions, and the truth. That need to constantly explain yourself. It's not strength. It's a hidden hunger for approval. Think about it. You tell someone you're not going out anymore. They ask why. You launch into a speech about how you're focusing on your goals, your health, your peace. But why do you feel the need to justify it? Because deep down, part of you still believes you owe people an explanation for choosing yourself. You don't. That's not arrogance. That's sovereignty. See, Stoicism teaches us something powerful. That peace is not something to be defended like a courtroom case. It's something to be protected like sacred ground. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, not explain one, not convince others that you're on the right path. Just be it." Because the moment you start building a life based on intention, people will question you. When you stop showing up for drama, they'll say you've changed. When you get quiet, they'll assume you're angry. When you draw boundaries, they'll call you cold. Let them. You don't need to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to explain growth to those who only know comfort. You don't need to apologize for doing the inner work that others are afraid of. Your path is yours. Not a public forum, not a group project, not a PR campaign. And the ones who get it, the ones who are doing the work too, they won't need your explanations. They'll feel your peace without words. They'll respect your silence without suspicion. Now, I'm not saying be rude. I'm saying be rooted. There's a difference between withdrawing to punish people and withdrawing to protect your purpose. The Stoic doesn't walk away in resentment. He walks away in clarity. And when someone asks, "Why are you distancing yourself?" you can smile gently and simply say, "Because I'm building something now." That's enough. You owe no one a front-row seat to your evolution. You owe no one a step-by-step explanation of your healing, your discipline, or your solitude. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself progress. You owe yourself truth. And here's the hard truth. The more you explain, the more people feel entitled to your reasoning. The more you defend your peace, the more others feel they can negotiate it. So stop. Stop arguing. Stop convincing. Stop performing clarity for people still trapped in their chaos. Let your actions speak. Let your new habits speak. Let your energy, your consistency, your calm be the only explanation they ever need. And if they still don't get it, that's not your concern. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become. So walk your path, quietly, clearly, with your head high and your soul intact. And every time you're tempted to explain your new standards, Swasana, breathe. And remember this: silence is your shield. Growth is your proof. Peace is your power. The man who no longer explains himself is the man who has finally come home to himself. Part 10. Practice energetic minimalism. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly clear, mentally light, emotionally grounded, spiritually centered? For most men today, that feeling is rare, because we've been trained to equate energy with hustle, purpose with productivity, and busyness with value. But the Stoics knew better. They knew that the mind, just like a room, gathers clutter. And the more mental clutter you carry, the harder it becomes to move with clarity and power. That's why I want to talk to you about energetic minimalism. It's not a trend. It's not a productivity hack. It's a mindset, an ancient one. It's the discipline of doing less so that you can be more. Not every opportunity is for you. Not every debate needs your voice. Not every notification deserves your attention. In fact, most of the energy you're losing, it's not because life is too hard. It's because you're overcommitted to things that don't matter. Let that sink in. You don't need to respond to every text. You don't need to say yes to every invitation. You don't need to jump into every trending topic, every argument, every shiny offer. The Stoic doesn't live scattered. He lives focused. Seneca once wrote, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." And that's exactly what happens when your energy is stretched too thin. You're present in every place, yet absent from your own life. Let me share something personal. There was a time I said yes to everything. Collaborations, calls, emails, plans, favors. I was praised for being available, but inside, I was disappearing. Tired, resentful, distracted. It wasn't until I embraced energetic minimalism that things shifted. I learned to start each day by asking, what actually matters, not what looks good, not what others expect, but what aligns with my values, my direction, my peace. And here's the truth. That list is short. Clarity isn't born from adding more. It's born from subtracting the unnecessary. The Stoics understood that your power is finite. You don't have endless bandwidth. Your attention is sacred. Your time is non-refundable. So why waste it on things that don't feed your soul? Energetic minimalism is not about isolation. It's about intention. It means choosing a few things, habits, pursuits that align with your highest self, and saying a silent, unwavering no to everything else. Because when your plate is always full, there's no room for depth, no room for mastery, no room for peace. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, if it's not essential, don't do it. That's not laziness. That's leadership. It's choosing to do fewer things better, to go deeper, not wider, to protect your energy like a warrior guards his sword. So if you've been feeling scattered, exhausted, constantly pulled in 10 directions, take inventory. What are you saying yes to that deserves a no? What are you engaging with that steals your focus? What can you quietly release so that you can breathe again? Remember this. Focus is the new luxury, and in a noisy world, a calm man who knows what matters, that man becomes rare. So start cutting, trim the excess, leave the non-essential behind, because the less you carry, the faster you move, and the clearer your path becomes. Energetic minimalism is not about doing nothing. It's about doing what truly matters and letting the rest fall away. Before you go, let's pause for a moment. If you've come this far through all 10 principles, then you're not here by accident. You're a man searching for clarity, for strength, for something deeper than motivation. You're here because you're ready to take ownership of your energy and your life. And what we've covered today, it isn't just theory. It's the foundation of a Stoic life, one lived with calm focus, deliberate action, and quiet strength. You've learned that protecting your mornings isn't selfish, it's sacred. That cutting energy vampires isn't cruel, it's necessary. That saying no without apology, embracing solitude, guarding your mental input. These aren't just habits. They're declarations. Declarations that you will no longer leak your energy into the hands of distraction, drama, or doubt. This is the Stoic path. Simple, but never easy. It asks for discipline, honesty, courage. But if you practice these principles consistently, if you truly embody them, not just nod along, you'll begin to feel something shift. More peace, more control, more alignment between who you are and who you're becoming. And that's what this Channel Stoic Outlook is here to help you do. We're not chasing quick fixes. We're building lasting strength from the inside out. So if this message resonated with you, if you felt even a flicker of truth in these words, this now. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. Like the video if it brought you value. Share it with a brother who needs to hear this. And most importantly, drop a comment below. Let me know which principle hit home for you. Let's build a community of men who walk the Stoic path together, stronger, wiser, and more grounded. This journey is just beginning, and I promise you, the deeper we go, the more powerful it gets. Until next time, stand tall, speak less, move with intention. This is Stoic Outlook, and this is your time.